Good evening, welcome. It's good to see so many people have been able to come this evening in person, and maybe people joining us online as well, not sure. So just to outline the evening, just so we have a sense of the shape of the evening. So we'll begin with traditional chanting, and then we'll have a period of silent meditation until about 8:30, and then there'll be a opportunity for members of the lay community to request the 3 refuges and 8 precepts, and that's for the evening, and so that opportunity will be there, and then that will be followed by a Dhamma talk, and then after the Dhamma talk, we'll do a circumambulation of the monument, the stupa in the northeast field, candlelit circumambulation. And then we will continue meditating until midnight. And so people are invited to stay for as much of it or all of it as you wish. And that's everything, I think. So good. The weather is looking really fine. As you've seen, it's a crisp, clear night with a lovely big Magha full moon rising up over the trees. So, okay. Vajrakachara. So we can begin with the evening chanting in Pali. Page 19 or 18. Sadhu no bhante bhagava suci
Chiraparine Buddhopi Achima Janata Dukam Pamanasa Ime Sakare Dugatapana Karabute Patiganhatu Ahakam Digaratam Hitaya Sukhaya Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Kalivade. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Sapatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Handamayang Buddhasa Bhagavato Pupaganamahkarang Karomase. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Andamayang Buddhana Satinayang Karomase. Tanko Pana Bhagavantam Evam Karayano Kiti Sadho Amugato Iti Piso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Vijacharana Sampano Sugato Lokariyu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Sata Deva Manusana Buddho Bhagavati. Andamayang Buddha Viditing Karomase. Buddha Varaham Tavarata Diguna Viyuto Sudha Vinyana Karuna Hisamagatato Bodhesiyo Sujanatam Kamalam Vasuro Vandamaham Dhammaranam Sirasa Chinentam Buddhoyo Sabapaninam Saranam Kemamuttamam Attamanu Vandamitam Sirenaham Buddha Sahasamidaso Vadhudome Sanikisaro Buddha Dukkha Sakata Chavidata Charita Same Buddha Sahagniya Devi Sariram Jivitam Chidam Vandantoham Charisami Buddha Seva Subodhitam Nati Me Saranam Kanyam Buddho Me Saranam Varam Etena Sacha Vajena Vadeyam Sadhu Sasane Buddham Me satejasa.
Andamayang Dhammana Satanayang Karomase
Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akariko Yehi Pasiko Opanayiko Pachatam Vedita
Andamayang Dhamma Vigiting Karomase
Swakatata Diguna Yoga Vasena Seyo Yomaga Paka Pariyati Vimoga Vedo Dhammo Kuloka Patana Tatadari Dari Vandamaham Tamaharam Varadhamma Metam Dhammo Yosabapaninam Saranam Kevamuttamam Duttiyanusatitanam Vandamitam Sirenaham Dhamma Sahasramitaso Vadhammo Me Samiki Saro Dhammo Dukkha Sagata Javigata Jahita Same Dhamma Sahamniyade Misariram Jiritam Chidam Vandantoham charisami dhammam sevasudam matam Nadi me saranam hanyam dhammo me saranam varam Yedena sajavajena vadeyam satu sasane Dhammam me vandamane nayam punyam pasutam idam Saebhyantaraya me maheswanta satejasa.
Andamayang Sanganu Satanayang Karomase
Sumatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujjupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samijjipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidam Chattari Purisa Yugani Yata Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Aruneyo Baruneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttaram Punya Ketam Lokasati.
Andamayang Sangha Vigiting Karomase
Sadhammajo Supatipati Guna Viyuto Yota Vigo Ariya Pugala Sankaseto Silati Dhamma Pavara Sayakaya Chito Vanda Sangho me samiki saro Sangho dukkha sagata charidata charita same Sangha saham niyate mi sariram chiritam chidam Vandantoham charisami sangha sopatipanatam Nati me saranam ganyam sangho me saranam varam Etena sachavajena vadeyam sadhu sasane Sangham me vandamare nayam punyam pasutam ida Sarepi antaraya me mahe sumta sate jasa
And then we will chant the Ovada Patimokkha, version 2, which is, I think, 81. Yes, 81.
Aja, maybe you can speak that way so that they can hear.
We will chant the Ovada Patimokkha, version 2, which is on page 81 of the dark brown book. Sabba papasa akaranam,
Not doing any evil, kusala supasampada, to be committed to the good, sacitta pariyodapanam, to purify one's mind, etam buddhana sasanam. These are the teachings of all Buddhas. Kanti paramam tapotitika. Patient endurance is the highest practice, burning out defilements. Nibbanam paramam vadanti Buddha. The Buddhas say Nibbana is supreme. Nahi papajito parupagati. Not a renunciant is one who injures others. Samano hoti param vihedayanto. Whoever troubles others can't be called a monk. Anupavado anupagato. Not to insult and not to injure. Patimokkha sangwaro. To live restrained by training rules. Matam yuta chapatasmi. Knowing one's measure at the meal. Antancha sayanasana. Retreating to a lonely place. Adijite jahayoko. Devotion to the higher mind. Etam buddhana sasanam. These are the teachings of all Buddhas.
I mentioned earlier that there would be the opportunity for the members of the lay community, lay team, to, if they wish, to request the 3 refuges and 8 precepts. People living here are living on the 8 precepts, but people coming for the evening, a group from a monk. So it's the Mayang Bante format. And then after that section, then it flips over to the, you then turn the page to 133. So you skip page 132. So I'll hand over to Ajahn Kruniko. Well, really handing over to you. It's up to you if you want to do this. So it comes by request from you to whoever. So. Traditionally, this begins with 3 bows. So those people that are wishing to do this begin with 3 bows. And nobody has to do it. It's totally optional. But begins with 3 bows and then begins with the Mayang Bante in unison. So those people who feel brave enough to start with their voices first, this is your opportunity.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Ti Sarana Kamanang Nititang. Panati Pata Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. Do I say it in English as well? Do I do it? Yep. If I can remember. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinadhana Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Abrahmacharya Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from any sexual activity. Musawada Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Sura Meraya Maja Pamadatana Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs that lead to carelessness. Vikala Bhojana Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times. Oh, no. Nacha Gita Vadita Visuka Dasana Mala Ganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Verapmani Sikkhapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification and adornment. Uchasayana Mahasayana Verapmani Sikapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying down in a high and luxurious sleeping place. Imani atta sikapadani samadhyami. Imani atta sikapadani silena sugating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nibuting yanti tasama silang vitsotaye. Just to pass it on.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. People here in the back there? Is this on? Yeah, also we've recently turned up the power on the hearing aid loop in the hall, so if anybody is a user of hearing aids, and if in the past you thought, well, it's not working, maybe give it a try this time. So. So Magha Puja, this evening, or this day, commemorates an event which is handed down to us in the history books, but also in the suttas, in the scriptures of the Buddhist religion, faith. And it records an event which took place on the full moon of February, so the third lunar month of the Indian calendar. And it was an event that took place in Rajgir, India, a gathering in the Velavana, which is the bamboo grove where the Buddha was spending time. It was a place that he and many of the disciples spent time. And it commemorates a gathering of 1,250 fully awakened enlightened beings, 1,250, gathered together. There was no previous arrangement. It wasn't as if, as far as we know, what's handed down to us is it wasn't like the Buddha said, "Oh, well, everybody come and see me," or anything like that. And as we know, the communication would have been very, very different then. It was all by word of mouth. And so, I think it's safe to say that there was some sort of communication amongst people. Maybe people in the various area dotted around that region would say, "Oh, look, let's go and see the Buddha. Let's go and pay respects to him." Sorry, I need to stop. It's just sinking down. And sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. So it's flagging. See how this works. So these 1,250 fully awakened disciples of the Buddha gathered to receive teachings, to pay respects. And historically it's recorded that it happened in the afternoon, the event. And for those of you who are maybe a little bit familiar with the Buddha's life and the teachings, the Velavana there in Rajgir is also where Vulture's Peak is, and so that's a place that appears many times in the scriptures. The Vulture's Peak was a place of retreat for the Buddha. And it's a peak above the city of Rajgir, or the old city of Rajgir. And now the city got moved, actually not long after that. And so right now, when you go to Vulture's Peak, when you look down off the peak, you just see forest, really. It's the forest there. And it's not that high. It's not as if it's a giant, huge, tall mountain. And in fact, it's not the top of the hills there, but there is this peak. And you can visit there now and see there's remnants of dwellings there, a couple of dwellings, kutis, huts, and also when you go up to just before you get to the top there, you see the two different caves which are mentioned in the suttas where disciples had meditated and in at least one case realized enlightenment. So just to give a little bit of historical background of that region, it was a very important region for the Buddha. The event is purported to have taken place in the first year after the Buddha's enlightenment, about 9 or 10 months afterwards. So the enlightenment was in the full moon of May, and then so within that first year, full moon of February came around, and this event took place. It's referred to often referred to as Sangha Day. Sangha Day. And it's because during this gathering, the Buddha, he recited what we recited tonight, the Ovada Patimokkha that Ajahn Kachana led us in, which is not, at least as recorded, it's not a long teaching, it's not complicated, but it had, there's a profundity to it. It was the Buddha really encouraging the conduct, the conduct that would then grow into the full-blown Patimokkha, which we believe was probably fully established about 20 years later. And the Patimokkha is the rules, the 227 precepts that are recited every fortnight. So this morning, in this very room, the recitation took place. One monk recites, another monk checks to make sure that you're syllable perfect, and the others listen. And so, and this happens all around the world in Theravada communities. So this first event, though, these words, and so I'll just read it out again, and this time I'll just read the English. I won't do the Pali. Not doing any evil, to be committed to the good, to purify one's mind. These are the teachings of all Buddhas. Patient endurance is the highest practice, burning out defilements. The Buddhas say Nibbana is supreme. Not a renunciant is one who injures others. Whoever troubles others can't be called a monk. Not to insult and not to injure. To live restrained by training rules. Knowing one's measure at the meal. Retreating to a lonely place. Devotion to the higher mind. These are the teachings of all Buddhas. So as you can see, it's very, very brief teaching, but it really encompasses, I feel safely say it encompasses the path to liberation. It needs unpacking. It definitely needs unpacking. So the themes that are highlighted from this gathering is harmony. So Sangha, the word Sangha, one of the translations etymologically, or when you break down the word, one of the translations that resonates with me the most is unified assembly. Unified assembly. So, and what's it unified around? So it's unified around wholesome conduct, ethical conduct, and the Dhamma. So, but to live together, any sort of unified group, to be able to live together in harmony, in peace, needs to have some sort of framework, and it needs to be wholesome. And so this is something that has existed in terms of the Buddhist Sangha, for more than 2,500 years. And it's a continuous regeneration of the Sangha over these millennia. So yes, ethical conduct. Sometimes ethics gets can be people might shy away. It's the word, but it's really crucial. So, for instance, this evening, many of you chose to request and recite the 8 precepts. Now, the 8 precepts contain a mixture of ethical precepts and renunciant precepts. So that's the difference between the 8 precepts and the 5 precepts, is that the 8 precepts have this renunciant quality to it. But the precepts, for instance, that were recited this evening around non-harming, around not stealing, taking things which don't belong to us. The 3rd precept was the not engaging in any intentional sexual activity. That is a renunciant level of sexual activity, because you're renouncing all activity. Whereas the 5 precepts is to not to misuse sexuality, to not harm ourselves or others through the use of sexuality. And then the 4th precept is to not lie or use harsh speech. And then the 5th precept is around drink and drugs, so recreational drugs and drink. And so that precept is, in fact, generally not considered an ethical precept. And but if we break that precept, it makes it a lot easier to break the first 4, because of our inhibitions have been dropped, have been lost. And so one can say, well, okay, those are the 5 precepts of the lay community. But I almost always point out how profound, at least I feel, profound the 5 precepts are as a framework for our lives. Because, and then I ask this question, so those of you who have been around me at least for a while or a little bit may have heard me talk about this, but just imagine for a moment what the world would be like if everyone lived on just one of those 5 precepts. Just choose one, choose the first precept, and let's just imagine the world if no one intentionally killed anyone or any living being. Now add in a second precept. Imagine the world if nobody ever stole anything. Third precept. Nobody ever harmed anyone through sexuality. Harmed them either psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically. Imagine a world where nobody lied. And imagine a world where we could trust everybody was sober and clear in their minds because of not consuming things which muddle and fog the mind. So I don't know about you, but when I do this exercise, I find it profound. It's an amazing structure, and so simple, and not limited to Buddhism. I mean, it's really, I like to think of the precepts they're just human. It's just human, and if I remember correctly, the Buddha equated a human being as somebody who lives by the 5 precepts, truly acting in a human way, to not be harming, causing strife through body or speech. So the Sangha, we have more precepts, and for instance, the Anagarikas and Anagarikas, you see in the white robes, they live on the 8 precepts, just as recited this evening. They also follow monastic form, and there's a lot more to it. But in terms of their precepts, it's what was recited this evening. So adding in those renunciant precepts, deepening that commitment, making a 1-year commitment to live like that. And so, and then we've got the novices, the samaneras, in their brown robes. They then add 1 more precept, and they give up the use of money. They give up the use of money in any form. And then we have the Siladhara, the brown robe nuns, and they have about 120, 130 precepts. And then the Bhikkhu Sangha, 227 precepts. We haven't added any more ethical precepts. All of the ethical precepts are contained in the 5 precepts. Now there's refinements, things are divided up. They get divided up in terms of, the rules around sexuality. There's just way more detail and things like that. But in terms of actually adding ethical precepts, it's all contained in the 5 precepts. So if you ever catch your mind, if you're living in life as in the broader world, in broader community as a layperson, if you ever catch your mind saying, or anybody else saying to you, I only live on the 5 precepts, you should congratulate yourself and others and say, yay, that's amazing. It's there. Now, why would we want to live like that? So, think about it. It doesn't take long to realize it. When we live well, then harmony is easy. When our conduct is pure, our intentions are pure. Okay, sometimes we're going to make mistake, but when our intentions are pure and when we can straighten out our mistakes, then harmony comes naturally, and not just the harmony of living with others, but actually I like to think of harmony also. There's an inner quality, at harmony with ourselves. There's this feeling of I think wholeness and completeness as a person, as a human. So then we're not living in regret, or if we do have regret, it's something that we can learn from, because regret is a wonderful teacher. It can help us to change our ways. We can change. We're changing. Everything's changing. We're changing. Life is never static. We're not subjects to fate. We're not living a predetermined life. We're living subject to our past actions. That's karma. Past karma. Karma means action. And we're living by our past actions have led us to this moment right now. And if we feel changes need to be made, we can do that. We're not just in the wind of life, just sort of a slave to our life. We can do this. And so then with that harmony, with that wholeness, that feeling of not dwelling in regret, not dwelling in fear of wrongdoing, not dwelling like that, then the mind and heart settle more easily. So as Buddhist practitioners, we're encouraged to use meditation. So for us in the Sangha, in the monastic community, meditation is really, in some ways, the core to our life. We've got the ethical conduct, and we have the Dhamma teachings, and meditation fits within that, especially within the Dhamma teachings. And so the heart and mind that are more at ease, that aren't dwelling in fear and regret, as I've been mentioning these last few minutes, will settle more easily, more quickly, more fully. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, in the moment, there's this tranquility, peace, calm. I would venture to say that each and every one of us is here because that's what we're leaning towards, that's what we're practicing. But then it's using that clarity, using that calm to see clearly what the obstructions, if any, what the obstructions, the obstacles are to our unshakable peace, our not just temporary peace of meditation, which is crucial. This is crucial. But that temporary peace of meditation is dependent on doing the meditation. The wisdom, the discernment that is then to be developed, or can be developed, using those calm states, is the goal. That's the goal. So the tools are things like the meditative calm, that lucid calm, collectedness of mind. That's a tool to then unpick the obstacles that are keeping us from this unshakable, steady, lasting peace, an unconditional peace. So the ethical conduct, there's a reason for it. It's not just just to be a good person and just to be trustworthy, but if we use that. So harmony, it's interesting. Like I've used the word harmonious, harmony this evening, and when I was in Thailand a couple of months ago, and I had the great privilege to spend time with various elders and other practitioners. And one day we were talking about harmony, and I was describing how we were going through a very, very harmonious period here at Chithurst Monastery. And he said, "Oh, that's marvelous. That's really good to hear." And it's somebody who's familiar with this monastery. But then he said, yeah, but it's good to remember that harmony is not the goal. Harmony is not the goal, but it's a tool. It's a tool. And at first, I kind of went, oh, I'd never thought of it that way. And now this was a reflection. He wasn't presenting this as a hard and fast truth, but I thought that was a very interesting reflection. And on pondering that, I thought, oh, right, because we can, what's the benefit of harmony? Is it also, as I was reflecting this morning with the male community after our recitations of the rules this morning, is that when we are in harmony with our surroundings, and it's not just around people, it's not just around people and animals, it's also around nature. When we are in harmony, and then we're not spending time, we don't have to spend time sorting out disharmony. We don't have to spend energy and time to sorting out conflict, or trying to bring harmony into being so we can utilize that. Because here again, the harmonious heart and mind, the harmonious surroundings, here again, that the mind and heart are going to settle easier. And then we use that. So it's here again, it's using the harmony, using the settledness, see clearly, see the obstacles, the things that are obstructing peace, obstructing awakening to reality. Because to really see these things, especially as we go deeper and deeper into more and more refined aspects of our being, of our inner world, because we really need to see through all of it. It's not just the gross, obvious things which are easy to see or easier to see. As we see through different layers, and I'm using the word layers just sort of descriptively, as we see more and more refined things, you go, oh, okay, we see, oh, this is an interesting thing that I'm grasping at. Or this is an interesting habit. To really take an interest in and release those things, to change those habits of being. And here again, talking about, the karma, all of our past actions and the results of those actions bring us to this moment, and our conditioning. So this is our conditioning. We are conditioned being. We're conditioned by the conditions around us. This is how we learn. Because sometimes I'm not a conditioned being. But the way I'm using the word is that if you just ponder that a little bit, that it's okay, what we learn, so when we're born, so what our life was like from day one, and all the different events and experiences that we had, and the attitudes that we pick up along the way, from our parents, from our friends, from our teachers, from our colleagues, from the environment, from society, from the era that we're living in, the country we're living in, the community we're living in. All of these things shape our way of thinking, shape our responses to things. And so being here this evening that's also shaping our inner world. And it's wholesome. So it's really, to be doing what we're all doing by wanting to be here, whether we're living here, whether we're coming for a few months, whether we're coming for the evening. We're all here for a wholesome reason. So this gathering, the Sangha, joining together, and the Buddha emphasizing, the training code. This is that introduction of the training code. It's interesting because in those earlier years of his dispensation, and his teaching career lasted 45 years. He realized his full awakening. They reckon at the age of 35, and that he died at the age of 80. And so those earlier years, there was no real code of conduct, because people were just acting appropriately. And in fact, at one point, I don't know, what year this was in terms of his teaching career, but I believe it was his cousin who was a monk, was encouraging the Buddha to set down a code of conduct, a rule, set down a monastic rule, and the Buddha resisted. He says, "No, not yet. Not yet. There's no need yet, because the conduct in the Sangha is so good. But the time will come." He recognized that the time would come. And so when the rules as they are now and as they built up, because they weren't just, it's not like the Buddha just sat down with people and said, "Okay, it's time to write the rule book." It didn't happen that way. First of all, they weren't using writing for things like this. And secondly, the rules got added as time went by. And it's interesting because in the rules and in the commentary to them, there's an origin story to the rules, and it generally names the person who brought the rule about. So it will say, "Oh, Venerable Udayan did this," and so the Buddha said, "Okay, because of what you just did, I need to lay down a rule." And so it's quite interesting. We find that we can see this origin story, and in most cases, or many cases, who it was who was acting inappropriately to have this rule put into place by the Buddha. And so, and as I mentioned, it took many years before it accrued to 227 precepts. But for 1,250 people to come together, it's interesting. These are fully awakened, fully enlightened beings, and there has been speculation. People commenting like, "Well, isn't that a bit of a simple teaching for fully awakened arahants? Here again, not doing any evil, to be committed to the good, and to purify one's mind." So these are already awakened beings, but I don't have an answer to it. I've read various sort of speculation on the simplicity, but I'm not going to go into that here. But it is just to mention that much. So. But it goes on from the conduct level, so that's the conduct level, and then this mention of patient endurance. Patient endurance is the highest practice, burning out the defilements. It's the incineration, to incinerate the defilements, the kilesas, the things that really block. So the greed, hatred, and delusion, confusion, that patience. And so recently we've been reflecting a lot on the list of the parami, or what are called the perfections, different qualities to be developed, like generosity, ethical conduct, renunciation, things like this. And one of those 10 is patience, khanti, and then the Buddha in this teaching said it's the supreme. This is the one that is really the top. And so to be patient with ourselves, so we need to be patient with ourselves, develop patience for others, develop patience for situations. And in the way the Buddha reflected and framed patience, it's not time bound. It's not based on time. It's not, I'll grit my teeth and wait until the bus comes. or I can put up with this because surely somebody will go and turn off the dripping tap. I can be patient because I can fix this. No, it's not based on time. It's not based on this will end. It's a patience that says, whether this ends or not, I can endure this. So oftentimes the word endurance is added to is patient endurance, and so to be able to be with conditions and to not just be bearing it until it stops. It's more, no, you just bear it. Stop. That's where it ends. And so in spiritual practice, this is really crucial, and to be able to really fully look and not run away from the things that are our teachers, to the things that we see in ourselves, the things around us, the things that we see in others, to be able to be with that and learn and to transcend, the what's not wanted. Because typically we're being patient with things that are unwanted. I haven't heard myself somebody say, "Oh, I'm really practicing a lot of patience with all the happiness that I'm experiencing." No, it's usually the things that irritate us, the things we don't like, all the things on the negative spectrum of the scale. And so to be able to do that. But does that mean that we don't try and fix something or affect change? Of course not. Of course we try. We can make effort, as long as that effort is wholesome. It is not self-centered. It's not just for one's own welfare, but maybe harmful or not helpful to other people. No, we if it's wholesome for ourselves, for others, we put in that effort to make changes. But then we just be patient. Do what we can and be patient. So this is, I like to use the word, transcending the unwanted. Not basing our life on getting the wanted and just getting things the way we want them, the way we want it to be, but it's willing to coexist with the unwanted, to be able to peacefully, not just to coexist, but peacefully coexist the way things aren't really, if they're not the way we want, or if it's the unwanted. And so it's really important, because especially seeing how much prominence the Buddha put on patience. So I think that's probably enough reflection on that evening. I wanted to offer a little bit of the history of it, because so that we're at least aware of the context and sort of the framework of it, and and that also recollecting and remembering the qualities that were exhibited through a gathering like that. That being able to come together. As the Buddha would often refrain, to come together in harmony, to conduct business in harmony, and to part in harmony. And harmony doesn't necessarily mean that we all agree on things, but it's to learn how to agree peacefully or disagree peacefully, to be able to conduct gatherings, to be able to discuss things, and then to be able to part in harmony. And so very much emphasized by the Buddha in his life. And so I hope that we can all consider these things and consider some of the things that I've mentioned about the value and of gathering together. It's also, of course, we're recollecting the Buddha as our teacher. This is very important. And so, coming together like we have this evening to ponder these things, to recollect. And so I hope there's something this evening that has been shared that is useful, so I'll offer this for your reflection. So. So we'll get the seating rearranged again, and if the candle lighters do we have a team of candle lighters? Any volunteers to go light candles? More the merrier. Very good, thank you. And if you could come back in and let us know when you're finished, that'd be helpful. And so while they're doing that, we'll get the hall back organized, get the chairs, the seating up here move back. And then we'll be doing a short recitation, and I'll recite, and then people recite after me. And then we will do the circumambulation in the field there. And so please dress warmly, because it's cold out there. The temperature has dropped significantly. And so, also if you have a torch, it's very useful to have that and to use, so that you don't trip over something, because it is dark. And for the monastic community, some of our dear supporters today, they brought and put together flowers, and they're on the table in the back there. And then also I believe there's probably incense and candles for everybody. And so take that as you're going, and then we'll circumambulate the stupa 3 times. And then the monastic community will go up onto the monument, up onto the upper tier, and we'll place ourselves around. And after the 3 circumambulations, and if the lay community could stay down on the ground level, and there's I believe a place probably to put candles and incense. And then once we're there, we'll do a little bit of chanting while we're there before finishing that aspect of the evening. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have the opportunity, if people wish to stay, and we can meditate through until midnight. At midnight, we'll chant one or two short reflections before closing at midnight. So. So we can face the shrine and bow 3 times, recite the Namo Tassa, and then I'll read in English line by line, and you can repeat after me that recitation. So. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Today, being the full moon of February, it is the Magha Puja, the day when the Tathagata, the completely enlightened Buddha, recited the Ovada Patimokkha to the assembled Savaka Sangha. At noon on that full moon, in February, these 1,250 bhikkhus, whose hearts were completely pure, had gathered together without prior arrangement at the Lord Buddha's residence of Veluvana Rama. The Lord Buddha made this the occasion to recite the 4 verses of the Ovada Patimokkha, which establish the practice of purity to that unique assembly of wise beings. Now we have all come together to recollect and reflect on the occasion of Magha Puja and on our revered teacher, the Buddha, who attained complete liberation long ago. We send forth our respect and gratitude to him. And to those 1,250 arahants. By offering these candles, incense and flowers, to the sacred shrine of the Lord Buddha. Although he passed into Nibbana long ago, the Buddha's guiding influence is still with us today. May our offerings be received and accepted for our long-lasting welfare and for the happiness of all future generations. Sadhu. Okay, so the monastic community, we can make our way out of using our doors, most of us, and then we'll go around the back and gather candles and things like that, flowers from the table. And then for our visitors and lay residents, if you can maybe just wait until we've begun to clear that back area before you make your way back, and then do the same, okay? Okay, see you out there. For those of people joining us on the live stream, this is where we'll be closing it down, and so we wish you well.